A very good morning to all of you. Our speaker for day 5, Dr. Nalin Jayasuriya from Sri Lanka, all the participants and all the dignitaries in the day 5 of International Academia Leadership Program on learning through transitions and transformations. We have with our speaker, Dr. Nalin Jayasuriya, and before going with the formal welcome and the other procedures, I would just like to inform all the participants that the theme for today's session is transitionary learning in management. This will be our topic for the session 1. And for the same, we have Dr. Nalin from Sri Lanka, and I heartily welcome you, sir, for the same. And I would also like to request Dr. Yogen Singh, sir, the convener of IALP 2020, to formally welcome our speaker for session 1, day 5. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Sapna Mathur, madam. Good morning, all of you.
Good morning.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Respected Principal, sir, Dr. G.M. Patel ji. Respected speaker of fifth day, first session, Dr. Nalin N.P. Jayasuriya ji, Chairman, Enquire Ranks Global Consulting Private Limited, Sri Lanka. Respected CEO, sir, Commodore B.K. Gupta ji. Respected Registrar, sir, Dr. S.S. Sirur. Respected Accounts Officer, sir, Mr. Manoj Kumar. The co-convener of IALP 2020, Dr. Sapna Mathur, madam. The faculty coordinators, Professor Rakesh Bhatt, Dr. Achal Singhal, madam, Professor Ankur Garg, the organizing committee members, Dr. Vednatharam Prajapati ji, Dr. Kokla Saxena madam, Dr. Anju Tripathi madam, Dr. Pratibha madam, and Professor Sadasiv sir. And the most important, the honorable, respected participants. First of all, I myself, on behalf of Department of Management Studies and GSS Academy of Technical Education, Noida, I welcome you all, and I personally welcome Dr. Nalin N.P. Jayasuriya sir for this first session, and I am very thankful to him that he has accepted our invitation on a very short notice, and that too through a link that we have got his link from LinkedIn, and he is so humble, so kind that he has accepted our invitation to enrich the knowledge of the people across the globe, as our participants have joined across the globe. So once again, sir, I thank you very much for your kind heartedness and your
Thank you. So good morning to every one of you. I hope it is a good day where you are speaking from.
Thought process towards the upliftment of the society by spreading the knowledge, sir. So thank you very much. Request Dr. Sapna Mathur, madam, kindly start with the session and proceed with the.
Okay.
Before going ahead, I'll just throw a few glimpses on the topic, which says transitionary learning in management. And as we all know, we have witnessed many type of changes, either it is natural change, organizational change, or some sort of transition. But what is very critical is the ability to gain the stakeholder support with respect to that change. And effective change management processes include number of tools and techniques that allow the organization spatially communicate about that transition, align expectations, and train the employee about any new behavior or any new change. So this will be the theme on which sir will be throwing more inputs and his practical viewpoint pertaining to the same. And going with the vast and enriched profile of Dr. Nalin Jasurya from Sri Lanka, his profile is so vast and so enriched that, sorry sir, I cannot cover up all the things in a minute time. So I'll be covering short the very specific point out of the profile. Sir is chairman Macquarie Rents Group, Sri Lanka, and as far as his former employment is concerned, he is regional HR. He was regional HR consultant and regional head of special projects of Fortune 500 companies like SmithKline, BCAM International, Southeast Asia, and India, operating from Singapore regional office and from Jakarta, Indonesia, overseeing HR and spatial projects in 9 countries. Regional HR Director Sterling Winthrop, East Africa region, and overseeing HR function in Sri Lankan, operating from Nairobi, Kenya, overseeing operations of 8 countries. And he was also Director HR Macwoods Winthrop Limited, and he has been engaged in number of executive coaching training programs for government institutions, private sector, overseas institutions, delivering lecture to universities either based in Sri Lanka or overseas, conferences, number of engagements in professional bodies, consulting work like consultancies, and services, especially with regard to military services. And he has held number of honorary positions and social responsibility domains. And he has also been a part of world governing activities. So I heartily welcome you, sir. And now I would like to request you to throw your inputs and your viewpoint, your opinion, your practical insights pertaining to the topic, which says transitionary learning in management. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sapna. It's a pleasure for me to be here. So I can say namaste.
Namaste, sir.
मैं बहुत खुश हूँ यहाँ आकर.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, sir.
So my topic today is transitionary learning in management, and I'm going to bring as much as possible opinions backed by my practical experiences. So I would move away from the academic more towards the practical and pragmatic applications of knowledge. So to start with, I'd like to begin with just to give a brief introduction to what is transition in learning. Basically, the definition would go as transitionary learning as an approach that aims to facilitate and accelerate the transitions through participation. It's a participatory process of learning and experimenting, leading to changes in management. So at the end of the day, what we would want to see is a change. And a change is only felt if there is a result which differs from the result that was produced before the learning. So it is very important to compare an outcome before a learning is applied versus an outcome after the learning is applied. So if there is no difference between these two, then we say that learning does not give an ROI on the expenditure that went towards providing that experience. So today we see in the world that trainers or lecturers have moved away from andragogy to pedagogy. So today we even refer to such people as pedagogues. I don't know, what does that mean? Now, when we were small and when we were in school, we were taught by the teacher and we could not discuss any points with each other. We could not refer things and information on our own because we were prohibited doing that. So the teachers zealously and religiously safeguarded the curricula, and we were supposed to follow just that. And there was a type of embed fear for us to ask questions, even if we did not understand. So which led students to cram. Cram is memorize and commit to mind, and then just go and write that on the answer sheet. But today, it is different. We have something called blended learning. Blended learning is where the pedagogue, the lecturer, gives a framework for what the curricula and the agenda is, and then the student has the right to go and refer on the website or any other on Wikipedia or any other reference books, and also take ownership for that individual's development. So it is not only the teacher or the lecturer who is held responsible in the learning process, it is a dual two-way process. So this, I think, in today's context is very important for sustainable learning. Then we get to training and teaching as a process in the learning scheme of things. Why do people have to learn? Now let us for a moment pause and see what the word learning means. Now, the word learn has been used very loosely in many countries. You go through an experience and you say, I learned something. So what it really means is that I know how something is happening, but it is no guarantee of that something happening being applied in your personal life in different situations. So learning, as I believe, is a permanent change in a person. To learn is to have a permanent change. Learning is not temporary. Learning is forever. You take it to your grave. So for learning to take place, there are several reasons why there is a pressure for learning in today's context. One is the organizational structure in a company. We have learning, it is learning that drives us to understand, accept, and respond to an organization structure. We don't take it loosely. An organization structure is very, very important. Why? Because it gives you the parameters of who you can collaborate with, who you report to, who reports to you, who you can work with as a team. It also provides you a basis that you can draw your resources from. And that is important. Another reason for learning would be the product itself or the service itself that the organization is engaged in. Because if there were no products and there were no services and only people, management will not take place. So the product and services, it introduces two new things. One is it introduces people. The second is introduces problems. So a good manager manages two things, actually three things, I would think: people, resources, and problems. If there are no problems, you don't need managers. The clerks, we can run it. So if you don't have problems, I think you should pray to the gods and say, please give me a problem for today's work. It is the problem that you can solve that enlightens you and sharpens your capability and skill. If you don't have problems, it means you will not grow, you will not develop in your career. Example, I can't teach you to swim outside the swimming pool by showing you the pool, telling you the statistics of the pool, the length, the breadth, and the depth, and then show you the strokes that are necessary, like the breaststroke, free stroke, backstroke, and the butterfly. Nothing would happen. You'll only understand the knowledge, but you will not be able to apply or transport that knowledge to your workplace unless you get into the swimming pool. Getting into the swimming pool is the problem facing scenario. Another one is the approach to business itself. Lots of people who are recruited to corporations today are recruited based upon their previous experience, their qualifications, and the ability to carry out a job for which the vacancy is created. These are generally the only reasons most companies look for in a person. Some companies go beyond that to look at the attitude of the person, and they carry out a psychometric testing. But what I feel, in my opinion, and because I've worked in more than 14 countries, and I have recruited several people in several countries, including India. In India, we had two operations that came under my purview. One was in Delhi, where we had 2,800 employees, and the other operation, was in Bangalore, where we had 1,700 employees. And the vice president human resources of both these operations reported to me on a dotted line basis, while they reported administratively to their country heads. Now, the important thing is, when you get involved in this learning sort of approach to business process, one thing that we were very, very keen in both operations in Delhi, which was SmithKline Beecham Consumer Health, and the operation in Bangalore, which was SmithKline Beecham Pharmaceutical, the RX market business, we were very keen to see that we go beyond those parameters of recruitment and go to a new dimension. I'll share the three new dimensions with you. One is, we recruited a person based on his learning ability, based on his performance ability to do a current job for which the vacancy had been created. Secondly, we look for the fit for the culture. If this person can be the most qualified with the best experience, but is this person fit to adapt and enrich the culture that is already existing in our organization, which is driven by the corporate values of the company? The third is, does this person who we are interviewing have the potential for career growth? Which means, does this person have the capability to, or the potential for capability, enhanced capability? Because if that were not there, if a position above him should fall vacant, we have to expend a lot of funds again in trying to recruit from the external market. So the trick is to grow your own timber so that you have a succession from within your own organization, where you will not face a vacuum and a struggle in case a vacancy is created. So these are some important aspects on the approach to business. We have to see who we take into the business. And if the business was a bus, we have to be careful who we get on board that bus, because one wrong person can spoil the entire direction and the speed with which we are moving. Another reason why people learn is the system itself. We are now moved from manual paper systems to digitalized AI systems. So a lot of learning is now happening in the corporate world. People are forced to move because the business model has changed thanks to COVID-19. What COVID did was, it brought the future to the present. So right now, if the COVID was not there, perhaps I would be with you in India, talking on a platform. So this is very convenient, and this is cost effective. And the systems themselves, we can see the enhancement through the journey to digitalization and artificial intelligence. And finally, the fourth aspect for learning, the last approach for learning would be the market itself. You don't have to be in the field of marketing. You don't have to be in the field of finance only. But whether you're in finance, whether you're in HR, whether you're in marketing, whether you're in sales, whether you're in manufacturing, now the learning about the market is very important for everyone, not only for people engaged in the marketplace, because the people engaged in the marketplace will understand how the marketplace behaves. But unless the people manufacturing and the people who are doing the pricing and the restructuring of the prices and the pricing strategy in the finance, if they don't understand what the market and market trends are, that will drive your product out of the market. So market is something, a new learning for everyone in the organization, not only for marketing and sales. So gone are the days where we worked in silos and in verticals, where marketing would say, sorry, this does not concern you. This is something to do with brand development, brand equity, and marketing and positioning. So that day era is gone, no more. So the oneness has come to being now. Anyone in the organization, irrespective of his vertical in the discipline that he or she is, they come into a oneness as a team, one team, to understand the market and go through these systems I just spoke to you about. So let's now, having discussed that, let's look at how we move a person from where a person is to where the person should be through learning. Now, a lot of companies make a big mistake of identifying gaps in knowledge, identify gaps in skills, and then sending them through a training program. So their focus more is on how structured this program is to cater to the requirements in knowledge, skills, and attitudes of a person, which you call KSA. Having done all of that, so this person goes through that program. And then the person is released to implement the new learning. My question from you, ladies and gentlemen, is in your own organizations, you will learn that post-training and post-learning, the results that you expect do not come. Why? It worries a lot of managers, and they keep discussing among themselves. We sent this person to so many programs in several subjects, but still, after so many years, he is still finding it difficult and struggle to get to where we want it to be. Why? The problem is not with the learner. The problem is with the management that failed to understand there's something called transition between the person before learning and the person after learning. So when management starts to seriously focus on the transitionary part of the learning, that is where the learning begins to affect the sharp end of the business. How? Let me explain how it happens. Just because a person learns, that person still carries the fear within his mind or her mind. Do I have the authority to do this? Do I have the permission to do this? Will I be able to collect the resources that I want to complete this? Now, when he is fearful of this, the learning being implemented gets into a hazard or a hazardous situation. So with the learning, the management must give this person the license to do these type of things I spoke about, mobilizing resources, taking decisions, taking responsibility for the initiatives, and to be held accountable within a framework. And license him, it is okay, or her, license him or her, it is okay if you fail within this parameter, but as long as you learn something from your failure. So in other words, make friends with failure. Now, most Asian families, particularly India and Sri Lanka, we share a common culture. We have respect for our elders. we, we have the ancient tradition, and we have a strong culture. Unlike most Western worlds, we are rich in our culture, and we are proud of our culture. Now, what we have to understand is, especially in Asia, parents have spent a lot of money, even selling their assets and taking bank borrowings, because particularly in India, parents are very, very conscious of educating their children. Education for their children is prime in India, that I know for a fact. And in Sri Lanka also, but not as much as it is in India. So when I go in a taxi in India, and when I start a conversation with a taxi guy, I find that he's a Bachelor of Arts graduate. Then I find most people doing work are all graduates, most of them. And so they are very conscious of education. Now, the parents ideally help the children to look after what they should do with their life after success. We never teach the children how to manage failure. We never tell them what should be life after failure, because the parents only focus on what should be the life after success. So this is why most students who are learning, and even managers who learn for a promotion, and they don't get it, or they don't get through an examination, they commit suicide because they can't handle failure. What I would say is, make friends with failure. Failure is the best teacher, because a teacher in a classroom cannot help you to feel the pain of failure. He can only tell you, but you won't feel it. But experiencing failure gives you that type of pain and a bit of a setback. And the learning that comes through that type of pain of mind is a learning that will stay with you forever. So the question is, what do you learn from that? Now, if you take Intel Corporation in the Silicon Valley in the United States, it has 17,000 employees. They have a fantastic human resources policy. They tell you, you can make any mistake you want. That's fine. We encourage you to make mistakes, provided they are a bona fide. That means you don't do it with a devious mind or in a malicious manner. You try to do something good and you made a mistake. For example, I take this glass and I keep it on the edge of my table, and accidentally my elbow knocks on the glass. The liquid and the glass spills on the carpet, damages the carpet, I lose the liquid, and I break the glass. So the HR, not the HRM, the HRD, that's a human resources development manager, would come and spend time with this person and ask this person what actually happened. How did this happen? So when this person who made this mistake explains what happened, that very explanation of what happened makes him conscious. Oh my goodness, this is what I did. And that's where learning starts. And then the HRD manager would say, so what would you think you would want to do in the future not to let it happen again? So the answer does not come from the pedagogue. The answer comes from the person who made the mistake, who failed. So then that person comes with options. In future, I will use a plastic glass, a plastic tumbler, so that it will not break. Or in future, I will ensure this is kept in the center of the table. And all those suggestions are coming from the person who made the mistakes. And those suggestions will stick with him for life, because it came through a process of pain, a process of shame, and a process of somewhat frustration. Those stick with him. So that is the transition part of the management. And if he or she learns this, supported by the management on the transition side, that is learning. Now you will get the results that you expect. So let's look at a 4-phase journey in this transition. Number one, I would think, if I call it a phase 1, the transition of learning, you will come to denial. For example, when the computers, desktop or laptops were introduced, the first thing that happened was denial. Why am I going to put my life and my information into this box that I don't know anything about? How do I know that my information will be safe and not corrupted when it enters this box? So most organizations worldwide went through a dual system because they were suspicious of this black box, the CPU. So they entered the box because the management told them to. That became procedure. And also, they also maintain a manual system to be safe, to play safe. So that's a denial. Then they go to a resistance. They ask themselves the question, why should I do this? I've learned the rules of the game and I'm doing very well. And now they change the rules of the game. So you start to deny it. And you start to resist it. And then we get the exploration where people begin to think, okay, let's try it. Let's see whether we can do this. Let's see what benefit it will bring. And when they see the benefit through that phase 3, then you get the commitment in phase 4. So learning should come with a commitment. If you have learning without commitment, it is not learning. Because if I am to change my religion, I not only listen with open mind, I should understand it, I should accept it, and then I should be committed to it. Then I change my religion. So that is now to the future. So in order to make this change from where you are, the transition to where you want to be, in the management especially, number one is you should be aware. A man will not go and see a doctor. He will never visit a doctor. Would you visit a doctor? You wouldn't. You would only visit a doctor when you know that you have an illness. But just think you have an illness, but you don't know you have an illness. Would you visit a doctor? No. It is only when a man or a woman who has an illness knows about the illness that he or she will visit a doctor. So awareness is important. That's step one. Awareness, why I should change. Second would be desire. That is, I should desire to participate and support in my change. The desire to do things differently. Not only to listen to a lecture, not only listen to your manager or a boss, but I internally must internalize the desire to actually make this work. Next would be knowledge. You can be aware, you can have the desire, but if you don't have the knowledge, there's not much you can do. Knowledge gives you the platform which supports your determination to change, because now you know how. That comes with knowledge. Then the next important thing after knowledge would be the ability. Now, you have the knowledge, you have the desire, you're aware that you must change, but you do not have the ability to do it. That is, the ability means the capacity that you have to work to make that change. For example, if you look at a person who has no hands and no feet. We have seen people born like that. Unfortunate, breaks my heart to see them, but that's the reality. Now, they will have an awareness. It's important to put things in writing. They will have a desire to do this. And you give them the knowledge to do this. But can they write? So that is why digitalization is bringing apps that are sound responsive. It's for those type of people that who are extremely busy, they don't want to use their hands to write because they're doing something, so they speak to it. And when you speak to that software, it translates the software into a Word document. And finally, it would be reinforcement. That is, once you have changed, you must be happy you made the change. That is the post-implementation of the change. No one who has gone through the process of this change, through this transition of learning, should ever regret, oh my goodness, why did I ever take this initiative to change? Because I'm worse off than what I was. If that happens, it is a heinous crime. In the transition of learning, what we're talking about in management, another important thing I need to do or need to talk about is your absolute desire to climb a ladder. Everybody wants to climb a ladder. When you join the academia staff of a university, or whether you join an organization, or whether you join an INGO or an NGO, your prime motive is climb the ladder, which we call career progression. Now, climbing the ladder, you do very well, and you do it pretty fast. But have you ever thought, before climbing the ladder, whether you have placed your ladder on the correct wall? So sometimes we place the ladder on the wrong wall, and we hastily climb to the top, and we find it's the wrong profession we're in or wrong career we're in. We are blocked now. We can't go any further. Then you come down all the way down, all the steps. You climb the ladder, come right down to the ground level, carry the ladder, place it on a different wall, and start climbing again. Can you imagine the time it takes to do that? And you grow old doing it. You see midstream people changing careers, and they lose the advantage of being general managers. Had they started the right career at the beginning, the learning would have accelerated their movement forward, and they would have been a general manager. Now they've been ahead of some management stream, and now they feel it is inadequate to be in general management. So it comes right down, changes the field, and then it takes a while to go up. With luck, he might make it. If not, he won't. Now, I'd like to take your attention to a recent survey that was done in the United States of America. They took children between the ages of 3 and 5. They took a fair sample size between the ages of 3 and 5. And they did a creativity test for these children. And they found the creativity level of the children were 98%. 98%. Now, the same children, when they turned to the ages between 5 and 8, the same group, 3 to 5, they became 5 to 8. They ran the creativity test. Can you guess what happened? Their creativity level dropped from 98% to 32%. Why? Children learn for themselves most when they are put in unrestricted learning situations. Because from 3 to 5, you leave the child alone. You don't tell the child, don't do this, don't do that. The child draws on the wall, the child crawls on the floor, child takes pencils and draw all over the place. They jump on the bed, they jump over you. So whatever they do is all right because they're small. So 3 to 5, they're small children, let them be. Don't interfere with their life. What happens 5 to 8? They start going to Montessori. The moment they go to Montessori, the teacher tells them, don't speak. You can't sit where you want. This is your chair. You sit on this chair. You drink water only from your bottle. And after you drink water, you hang it in that same place where you took the bottle from. When you come in the morning, you have to tell the teacher, good morning, miss. And when you're going home, you have to say, thank you, miss, for the day. Now, stereotyping begins to a child when the child is 5 and 8. Because learning is under compulsion, not because learning is with a desire. Now, the third phase, something interesting happened. The same organization took 2,000 persons, 2,000 sample size, 2,000, aged 25 years, generally executive level, and ran the creativity test. Would you like to guess what the result was? Does anyone like to guess what the result would have been in percentage? 2%. 2%. Why? When you join an organization, just look at your letter of appointment. Just take your letter of appointment. It is like a jail sentence, something given, like a death sentence to a person or a jail sentence. You shall not do this. You shall not do this. You shall not do this. You shall not practice this. You shall not disclose this information. You shall come to work on time. You shall not get late. So you start a person's learning career with a lot of don'ts and a lot of restrictions. So where is the excitement to learn? They don't want to try anything new because everything says, if you do this, this will happen. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. You always have to ask permission. They taught that first in school, to ask permission. Everything you want to do, to drink water, you have to ask permission. You don't say, excuse me, sir, I'm going to drink a glass of water. You don't say that. You say, sir, and can you please permit me to drink a glass of water? And they bring that to the organization. So you grow up in a culture of don't. And then you join an organization and they tell you do. How can a person who comes from a don't culture adapt him or herself so quickly to a do culture? Not possible. Not possible. This is why people stay longer times in the learning curve, which is a cost to the organization. If you want to reduce the cost of learning in the organization, improve the transition. Let the people try out things, let them fail within parameters, not where a company loses $1 million. Give him or her small areas, frameworks, make decisions, check how the person thinks, check the person's thought framework, and then guide, help, support the person to make the right decisions. Decision making is something you're not born with. And in my opinion, there is nothing called the right decision. There are only decisions. Down my road, if I plan to build houses for 20 families down my road, for say there are poor families. So I plan to build 20 houses for 20 poor families. You would say that is a very good decision. But the other people, poor people down that road who did not get a house, would say that is a very bad decision. So there's nothing called good decision and a bad decision, in my opinion. But I think there's something called a decision. As long as you take a decision with management interest at heart or business interest at heart, you can be happy you have taken a rational step in making a decision. Forget whether it's good or bad. That doesn't matter. If you have gone through the 13 to 14 steps of the decision-making process, and you have taken the decision bona fide, with your hand across your heart, with good intention and the best interest of your organization, you can go and sleep without tossing in bed. Then I would like to ask you a question. What can you do with what you are given? Now, can you think of organs that are prominent but are not significant in your body? Can you think of something? Dr. Sapna, can you think of something, some organ in your body that is prominent but not significant?
Then I'm not able to think. I think every organ is very important and has its own importance when we talk about functioning of our human body.
Good. Thank you for that. Now, let me take you through that. Now, we have the hands, organs. We have legs, organs. We have ears, organs, nose, organ, mouth, organ. So we have, in our body, we have all these which are prominent. Why prominent? Because you can see them. But are they significant for your life? If I cut my arm out, will I die? No. If I amputate my other arm, will I die? No. If I cut my ears, I will not die. I pluck my eyes out, gouge them out, will I die? No. I will live. You cut my tongue, I will live. These are prominent. They are useful and they are prominent, but they are not significant for life. Now, what are some organs that are not prominent? You can't see them easily, but are very significant. Any idea what they are?
Heart, then
Heart,
brain, lungs,
brain, lungs, kidneys.
Yes.
All of these are very significant. Very significant. You can't live without them, but you can't see them. They are not prominent, but they're significant. But where do humans spend more of their time and attention? On prominent or significant? On prominent. What do? We worry about our hair. We put cream on our faces. We polish our fingernails. We choose a tie to make us look nice. Sorry, I don't have a tie today. We dress to impress. Why? That's prominent, what people see. So we pay more attention to all of that. But if I ask someone, when did you last take your lipid profile? When did you last take your troponin test? When did you last take your renal culture? When did you last take your renal profile? When did you last do a chest scan, a liver scan? When did you last do your PSA? No. So what happens? By paying more attention to what is prominent and neglecting what is significant, you die before time and you go down 6 feet to the ground, or you're cremated having a beautiful face. So when you're learning and trying to develop yourself, and you're trying to climb in your career, and you're trying to become someone who can disseminate information, who has credibility, who people will listen to, pay attention to what is significant, not what is prominent. You waste your time, you're paying attention to what is prominent. Don't worry about the file cover. Worry about the content that goes into the file. If you take your job descriptions, Dr. Sapna, do you have job descriptions for your staff?
Sir, I do have.
You have? Yes. Now, if you take a pencil in your hand and go through your job description step by step and put a P against what is prominent and put a S against significant, I won't be surprised if you have more P's than S.
Right.
You will have more P's in your job description. So the day you change those P's and increase your S's, you're making a valid contribution to your society to learn, develop, and become contributors to good management and to good governance.
Okay.
So we have to remember also that today's problems come from yesterday's solutions. Yesterday there was a problem and there was a solution. And that very solution becomes a problem today. Let me give you an example in a very simple, funny way, a funny example, because funny and simple examples stick in the mind much better than very complex examples. Say there is a girl out of school. Her friends are getting married one at a time. But she believed that marriage is not foremost on my mind. And then very soon, everyone was married and she was unmarried. And whenever they went for functions, weddings, and other parties and things like that, dinners, she felt a little embarrassed and became a problem. Because others went with their husbands very confidently, whereas she walks alone and she felt uncomfortable. People looked at her in a funny way. You know, our Asian societies, how they look at people. Everyone's business becomes every other person's business. So that was a problem. So now she had to solve this problem. So how did she solve this problem? She got married. All right? She got married. And now her problem vanished. So what was the solution? Marriage. What happened to her after that? Next year? Husband comes home drunk. Abuses her. Uses bad, abusive words on her. Right? And her life becomes a misery. So yesterday's solution became today's problem. So we have to remember that when you are academics, you're training in institution people in management and other disciplines, a solution that you have taught last year may not be the best solution you can teach this year or the next year. Because that very solution can lead to a problem in the next year. So the best way is to be ready to give up what you preach based on situations, because when the situation changes, your preaching changes. To support that, I would like to bring another point, that cause and effect are not closely related in time and space. Now, you might train somebody and release that person through the learning that person has gained into a management position. But when that person takes initiatives to make a change, that change will not come in the first year perhaps, may not be in the second year perhaps, or may not be in the first 3 months. It will come in the 8th month. By that time, this person may have shifted to another position in the company. And a new person replaces him in that position. Now, when the change happens thereafter, who gets the credit? The person who initiated it, or person who happened to be lucky to be there when it happened? So you have to take note of that as well. How to manage that person who moved out in a way that that person still gets appreciation for the initiation of that result. What we do in organizations, we praise the guy who happened to come there at the right time, and that happened. Why did it happen? Not because of the guy who came there, because the guy who made all the effort to make it happen, but he was transferred to another section or promoted. So we have to realize and make note of the fact that praise and appreciation should be given to those who deserve it. That is a catalyst to the learning process, because they motivate to learn more. Right? So let's look at some changing in business trends, because we're talking of management also. Let's look at how these changes have happened. Now I give you examples, real examples. Take the 1950s. I don't know whether you were born. I was not born. Anyhow, 1950, no, well, I was born in 51. That is 1 year after the 50. So some of you may have also been born during that period, but I don't look that. Do I, Dr. Sapna?
No, no, sir. No, sir.
I don't look like a person born in 1951.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for that. In the 1950s, businesses were focusing on sale of baby food and nappies. Why? Because after the World War, we had baby booms. Because Second World War created baby boomers, and babies coming at that time were worried about baby foods, nappies, and stuff like that. So all management, organizations, businesses focused on babies, sale of baby food and nappies. Then we came to 1960s. The 1960s, focus began to change to schools and education. So you saw a lot of education institutions coming up all over the place. Right? Universities started blossoming out and getting more recognition. Japan had their first business school in the 1960s. Right? So they started propagating education and schools, and all managements and businesses were more geared to schools and education and the importance of education. If you take the 1970s brought about car sales, automobile sales, like Ford, Chrysler corporations, Toyotas, Nissans. Companies started focusing more 1970s on the automobile industry. So learning process changed from education. People started learning about automation, mechanical engineering and electrical engineering, all of that stuff. 1980s, what happened? You got real estate. People like Donald Trump were thriving on their father's inheritance of land and doing property development, putting up buildings in Las Vegas called the Trump Tower, putting up golf courses. I mean, real estate came into play in the 1980s. So you got a new profession called the realtor. The profession of realtor did not exist till then. Now we have, when you see realtor, you know what that job is. It started when the whole business, the world moved towards real estate. Then came 1990s. What happened there? Again, a change in learning. Fast food chains and mega supermarkets. Even in India, you get mega malls, mega supermarkets. And fast food chains, McDonald's, Kentucky. So then the learning went to baking stuff, cooking stuff. Then stores, going for departmental store concept, where you buy all what you want under one roof. Earlier, you went to one place to buy your butter and your bread and your cheese. You went to another place to buy perhaps your jam, and you went to some other place to buy your ham and other items. But now you get everything under one departmental store. Plus, you can buy your clothes in the same departmental store. You don't have to go to another shop to buy your clothes. So that happened in the 1990s. In 2000, what happened? It became the age of ICT, information, communication, technology, and broadband. So you saw in the world, especially in India, a lot of .com companies coming up. I really admire the Indians for their zealousness in the IT field. If you take a lot of companies in the US, starting with Google, so many companies are headed by Indians. So India is an ideal example to the world in mastership and expertise in ICT and the use of broadband. So this became something very important in the 2000s, and you saw a whole lot of college leavers leaving to do software engineering. No more food items and no more cars, no more fast food, no more schools and education. They use education only as a platform, come learn and get into software and hardware. Now, what about 2020s? We're now in. Any idea? Now we're in an interesting age. We're in virtual reality. We're right now in virtual reality. Right now, as I speak, you ladies and gentlemen and I, we are in a virtually real conference platform online. That's virtual reality. Then we are in artificial intelligence. In Singapore, in a hotel, I was amazed when I checked in late last year, October last year. A robot took me to my room. The robot entered the elevator, pressed the right button, opened the door for me, and took me into the room. A robot, not a human. That's artificial intelligence. Your breakfast is brought to your bed by a robot. Cars are manufactured by robots. Even in India now they've started assembling cars. You'll understand what I'm talking about. And the other one is digitalization. We are completely moving away from analog. So that is the 2020s. That is a challenge that is facing us now. So all the education, learning that you are providing, I won't say teaching, I would say learning that you are providing from your institution to the students who are fortunate to go through your institution should be based on a platform of digitalization, artificial intelligence, and virtual, because that is the reality, that is the immediate future. And teaching them skills, knowledge of something of last year past will not have them to go through in life facing the future, because you can't make the mansion of the future with the bricks of the past. So that is an important note I want to leave with you. Now, I've spoken fairly content on transition, that you have to license people, that they must feel comfortable and free in the transition. Right? Now, I want to tell you a word of advice. If you have to err means make a mistake, E-double-R. If you have to err, it is good to err on the side of caution. So whatever you are trying to initiate, either a new program, either a new curricula, either a new branding, or initiate to build your brand and strengthen it even further, you need to have a thorough planning. You need to factor in the good things that will impel it forward and the bad negative things that can hold it back. So the more of the negatives that you get and the more of the benefits that will support you combined together will give you a plethora of information and a larger framework within which to plan your way forward. Because in today, with the competition, especially in India, with the education competition that is going on, you can't afford to regret, pause, and go back, take a few steps back and restart. That won't work. So every step you keep forward, you have to think 10 steps ahead for one step. So you want to take 2 steps forward, you have to think what the 20th step is going to be to take your second step. And all of this is learning. Except breathing and putting food or anything in the mouth and breathing and passing out your body waste, except those 3 things, think about it. Everything that humans have achieved is only through learning. Only 3 things you didn't learn. Everything else you learn. So we have to respect the process of learning, because now that we have learned and come to where we are, we have forgotten the importance of learning. We tell our children what to do, but we don't for a moment think, have they learned it or not? Have they understood it or not? So most parents, what they do, they bark orders, study. No play. I would encourage my children to play, which I did. I got 4 children. They're all married. I'm also a grandfather now. And now I'm encouraging my children, grandchildren also to play with me. I play with them. Play is very, very important, because play brings in the creativity. The right side of your brain starts to stimulate when you play. When you study, you're stimulating the left side of your brain. That's it. So if you want to have a balanced child and a balanced human being, you have to stimulate both sides of the brain. Learning doesn't come only from the algorithms, the algebraic calculations, the logic, and the sequencing process which happens on the left side. That is insufficient for a person to be a robust, composite human being. You need art, beauty, music, creativity, initiative, appreciations coming from the right side. It's a combination of both left and right that create a demand for you in organizations. Even before that, the learning itself happens most when you are in an environment that engages both sides of the brain. That is why humor, happiness, joy, seriousness, thoughtfulness are the combination ingredients required for true learning to take place. You cannot teach anything and expect a person to learn when he's on the death road to the gallows. He's 3 days, he's going to be hung and killed. Try to help him to learn something. I give you a true life example, one example before my time is catching up, but so I'll give you a real life example. I have 4 children and all 4 of them, I got girl, boy, boy. And I'm blessed. My wife and I are very, very happy that we got 4 wonderful children. And all our friends tell us, wish our children were like your children. Why are they wishing? Because they missed the bus of doing what they should have done at the time they should have done it. Now they wish. You only wish when you lose an opportunity. You don't wish when you have an opportunity. You do it. You wish. Wish is actually a regret. For me, in my book, it's a regret. I wish I had gone to school. Regret. I wish I got through my degree. Regret. So my second child, which was a son, was playful. Playing all the time. Didn't study. So one day, I called him. I called him Malla. Malla means younger brother because Aki is the older brother, Akka. So I called him. He would have been about 14. So I called him and asked him, what is the most important thing you want in life? This is good for you, for parents, if you're parents, having small children. And he said, I want to get married to the most beautiful woman. I said, that's a great idea. Very good. I'm very proud of you. Then I asked him, what do you need to get married to the most beautiful woman? Then he said, I need a big job. I need a nice, expensive car. And I need a lot of money. So even at 14, he knew what a woman would look for. So then I asked him, okay, fine. To get that money, to get that big job, and to have a beautiful car, what would you need? Oh, I need that university degree, and there's no one to take me. I said, that's fine. I'm very proud of you. You're very intelligent. Now, Malla, to get that university degree, what is one step before that? What do you need to do to get there? He said, I need to get to my advanced level. I said, very good. And one more step. What do you need to break through to get to your advanced level? And I'm quoting his exact words. He said, that stupid O-level exam, the ordinary level exam. He called it stupid. Now, there are 2 things a father could have done. Scolded him, pulled his ear and said, how dare you call education stupid? What did I do? The trick is if you want someone to learn, you have to reach that person's heart. You have to be accepted by that person. You must reach that person's mind, and that person will accept you. You can't talk from a higher platform to a lower platform. It won't work. So what I told him was, I too, when I was your age, I too felt it was stupid. But now I realize I had no other option. And then he told me, can you please sit with me every day for a short time and teach me. Commitment came not from me, from the learner. Why? Not because you want to get to the exam, you want to marry the most beautiful woman. So all I did was build a bridge from his destination he wanted in life to where he is now. And the learning took place. And he went to LSE and got a scholarship in LSE and did extremely well in the UK and has come back now. So that's all I have for you. Sorry, I may have gone a little over time, but I enjoyed talking with you and I enjoyed sharing my experiences with you. And I hope it would have been useful to you.
Definitely, sir. It was such an informative and eye-opening session. And especially, I have received number of positive feedbacks from our participants also that they have learned a lot from this particular session of yours. So we have learned from the your insights and as well as the practical experience you are having. So from that also we have learned, and so many things I have myself jotted down, which I'll take it as a summary. And before just going ahead, I have one question in the chat box which I have received. So I'll pose that question to you. And afterwards, we'll move ahead with our next session because Professor Nachiappan has already joined us like quite early at around 9:30 or so. And he's from University of Sussex, United Kingdom. So he's already with us. So I heartily welcome you, sir, as well. But before going with the session two, I'll pose the question to Dr. Nalin. And the question says, women are most commonly prone to career break when they are through with their family way and other sort of responsibilities, especially in our Asian continent. So what is your suggestion as a corporate chairman to women of our society to overcome this inevitable challenge in their career progress?
Thank you, Dr. Sapna. This is my opinion. It's not judgmental. It's only an opinion. I think a woman plays multiplicity of roles. Primarily, the woman plays the role of a woman, which is not easy. Then the woman plays the role of a daughter to aging parents, which is not easy at all. So that's the second role. Then the woman plays the role of a wife. Then the woman plays the role of a manager. And she also plays the role of a mother. So there are 5 roles this woman plays. It is the imbalance of managing these roles that lead a woman, average woman, into confusion or deprioritize what a person should be doing. It is where the foundation itself, laying the foundation, if you do not bring up your children in the way that they should grow, they become a hazard to your career progression because they demand more of your time to solve and resolve their problems. So you hold yourself to blame for that because when they were born, when you had more time on your hands, you did not architect their path way forward as a mother. Then from when you get married, you know, to get married, the man who's going to be your husband will bend backwards for you. It's only after 5 years of married life that the husband takes you for granted. And then things begin to change and demands are made, and then a woman is the subservient and the man is the supreme. All these things come generally after about 4 to 5 years. Now, the woman has to make sure that she tends to manage and maintain the respect and regard that the man had for her without letting him take the woman for granted, wife for granted. How does she do that? If he should speak harshly, which she had never done before, she should respond with emotions. So she manages these 5 roles very zealously in order to keep that balance, which leads to your work-life balance.
Right, sir. I'll take the remaining questions via offline mode, and I'll seek your clarifications and inputs for the same. Now, I would just like to request Dr. Yugin Singh to quickly formally thank our speaker one for day 5. Dr. Nalin Jayasurya. And then we'll proceed ahead with our session 2 as Professor Nachiappan has already joined us. So we'll proceed ahead quickly for our session 2. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sapna Mathur ma'am, the co-convener of IALP 2020. Without taking much time, I am very thankful. I must thank Dr. Nalin NP Jayasurya for his kind cooperation, for spreading the knowledge and the especially the practical knowledge, sir. So thank you very much, sir. You have touched the altogether a practical aspect, practical domain, apart from the literature or the bookish language, sir. So thank you very much, sir. We all have learned so much from you, and especially that the practical aspects, sir. So thank you very much, sir. We'll keep on bothering you for learning the practical exposure of what exactly is going around the globe, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation. And without wasting time, I request Dr. Sapna Mathur madam to continue with the next session, as sir is also waiting from a very early time. Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
So thank you, sir. Right.
Thanks a lot, sir. And I would also like to thank Professor Dr. Nalin Jayasurya for the same. And then going ahead
With a pranam,
with a
sir.
pranam. Namaste.
Namaste, sir. Pranam, sir.
So with going ahead with our session 2, day 5, we have with us Professor Nachiappan Subramanian, and he's a professor of operations and logistic management and supply chains, University of Sussex Business School, United Kingdom. So he's with us. He has joined from United Kingdom. I heartily welcome you, sir. And the theme for the session 2, it is blockchain and supply chain logistics. And just passing on the stage or the mic to our professor, I'll just give a glimpse of the topic. It says that managing today's supply chains, all the links to create and distribute goods, is extraordinarily complex. Depending on the product, the supply chain can span over hundreds of stages, multiple geographical locations, whether national or international. A multitude of invoices and payments have several individuals and entities involved and extend over months of time. Due to the complexities and the lack of transparency of the current supply chain, there is an interest in how blockchain might transform the supply chain and logistic industry. So with this input, I would like to request Professor Nachiappan to share his inputs, insights, and what all we can, as a learner, we can learn about this particular theme, this emerging trend, especially in supply chain logistics, and what all can be the directions for our key stakeholders, that is our students, that how they can grow themselves if they are especially keen in supply chain operations and logistics management. Over to you, sir.
Okay, good morning. Good morning, all. Good morning, Dr. Sapna, for inviting me and for this opportunity to talk to your students, especially on technology intervention in supply chain. So thank you so much for kind words in terms of introducing me. As Dr. Sapna mentioned, I am a professor of law operations and logistics management and supply chain at the University of Sussex Business School in the United Kingdom. So which is close, we are located in Brighton, which is close to London. And my session today, like I'm trying to take on what the previous speaker left in terms of technology interventions, how technology is changing our lifestyle, where we are in terms of new normal. We call, like, after COVID, especially the post-COVID scenario is going to be a bit miserable to all of us, in the sense we have to adapt to the new normal. So I'm going to talk about. I know that we have many students with us, and then. Sorry, it's too early for us in the United Kingdom. It's all 6
Right.
o'clock, 6:30 in the morning. So, yeah. But anyway, so that's fine. So I'm going to touch upon some of the aspects, like how technology is changing supply chains. To give you a brief introduction of what supply chain is, then to talk about the evolving technology, which is called blockchain, which is like nothing but a shared database or shared ledger. how it is changing the linkage between multiple stakeholders, and how all of us are getting benefit out of the technology, and what would be the future of supply chain, what students and the academics should know, so that they need to cover upon this topic in order to train people, future manpower, where as the previous speaker mentioned, is going to be an interaction between machine and man, where our supply network has to deal with those kind of scenarios. Without taking much of my time, I'll go to my presentation. I'm going to share my screen. I think you can see my screen now. Right.
Yes, sir.
So I think I will try to make it the full screen so that it is easy for. Right. So I'm going to talk about like how the industry mechanization, like how it industry evolve over time. So what would be the future of supply chain? So typically, like we talk about in late 1700, like 17th century, if you say, for example, where mechanization, steam power, weaving looms all changed our life. Typically, like which paid way to increase the productivity and to match the demand. So so in they call that as an industry one, where it enable people to move to places quickly.
All the participants should complete this.
Then like, uh, can you see my screen? All good?
Yes, sir. Absolutely good, sir. It's
Okay, thank
visible.
you. Right. So in industry two, like we talked about mass production, where Ford came into picture, like how they started like how to scale the usage of resources and to make it more specialized in terms of having assembly line and use of electrical energy, which revolutionized the production of goods, where their focus was more using scientific principles like Taylor and other aspect, where they are able to produce in a huge quantity of the same kind of products. So mass production was possible in late 18th century, or I would say early 19th century. So in mid of like 19th century, we are all aware of the role of computers, like we call Industry 3.0, where we spoke of, we were like, we witnessed, we experienced the role of automation, computers and electronics. It could be like computer integrated manufacturing, computers in production, and in the evolution of personal computers. All those changed our lifestyle. So recently, like if you say like in late two, I would say like early 2000s, we start dot-com boom. Then now we are talking about industry 4.0. So which is nothing but how to make this mission to people connectivity better. So how machine to machine is going to talk in future, how people and machine is going to interact. So that's what the earliest centuries revolution. Now how to make machine to machine talk, that's where we are in. So the future of work is going to be how interconnected machines are going to synchronously work and deliver the outcome what we are expecting. So we call cyber physical system, internet of things network, etc. um, so basically, like I'm going to touch upon some of the the evolution of a typical technology in this way forward, like how it is going to change the network of suppliers in order to deliver things. So as I came to know from yesterday's conversation with Dr. Sapna, that I think there are most of students who are not having a minimal knowledge in terms of what supply chain is. So we should call supply network instead of supply chain. Typically, the network is created by the focal company to match the demand. So we are trying to so demand is totally uncontrollable. Then we are trying to pool the resources to and to make it work synchronously to meet the demand. So we are typically a focal company meaning it could be any automotive end assemblers. It could be Ford, it could be Toyota, or it could be in terms of automotive, in terms of electronics. If you take now, iPhone is popular, so Apple could be a focal company. So how they are going to pool the resources globally in order to meet the demand. So they're trying to match exactly the supply, the demand with supply. So which is highly impossible because of a lot of uncertainties. So we can only micro match demand with supply. So how we are going to bring together various expertise together in order to deliver some kind of a sophisticated product to meet the demand. So typically in the screen you can see a linear supply network where it starts from raw material, it goes to various tier 1, tier 2 suppliers where they do all these components or whatever needed for, if you take iPhone for example, we need motherboard, we need screen, we need cases, we need microchips, we need memories and things like that. So all comes from supplier. Then we do have a like a Foxconn, like a assembler. They're located in China, Singapore, Taiwan. So they do assembly. Then it goes to various distributors regionally, nationally, and regionally. Then it goes to a retailer, and then it finally reaches the consumer. So this is typical conventional way of how a supply chain looks like. So there was like a lot of issues, challenges, and the supply chain picked up in late 80s, I would say, like early 80s, late 90s, because of information technology, where they can, where the companies, like multinational corporations, are able to connect with many suppliers in order to derive innovation from suppliers. So because of information technology, they are able to easily move goods from various continents, I would say, like because of cost. So cost was like the dictating factor for so any business wanted to make more money, so they wanted to leverage the low cost production from the global countries, especially from Asia. So they wanted to look more on core competencies, which all now this kind of pandemic changed the supply chain structure. So people are now debating how the future supply chain is going to look like. But anyway, so we'll try to understand a bit about what the conventional supply chain network is, given the understanding of the students. I assume. So what happens in terms of like, so this is typically we used to show like what is happening. So there are like 40 countries are involved in production of iPhone. It's not a single country. 40 countries are involved in production of iPhone. This is how the supply network looks for an iPhone. If you take, for example, the aircraft production, like for example, Boeing or Airbus, they have like 10,000 suppliers. So the network is so big to interact with many suppliers. They have their own core expertise where they're trying to bring together to create a network to deliver the end product. So typically you can see South Korea is contributing in terms of memories. So it's interestingly, Samsung was earlier a supplier to iPhone, then they came out with their own product. So likewise, still they are supplying memory, processor to iPhone. Texas Instrument is doing touchscreen controller, Micron is doing flash memory, likewise Dialog Semiconductors, they are into power management, they are from Italy. Likewise, from Taiwan, they are like foundry, micro electronics foundries, all located in Taiwan, where they do all this accelerator, gyroscope, and things like that. Germany, they are good for like network components. Infineon is located in Germany. Likewise, like Foxconn is located in Shenzhen, China. Likewise, Foxconn is also having a facility now in the US because of all this geopolitics. Plus Singapore. So they do. So if you want to get a phone, so you can't say that the phone comes from only America. So we know that okay, iPhone is from US. So the design is designed by designed at US California, but it's totally manufactured in China, Singapore, and now in US. So typically, like this is not a single country-based production. It is a global. You have to orchestrate global supplier network in order to get the product. So that is where the future is. So future is, even though like we talk a lot about China, we talk about other countries' dominance in terms of manufacturing. In future, still they are going to dominate. So how we are going to live with them? So how we are going to live with this global network? So whether globalization is going to be there in future or we have to localize. So there is a lot of debate in Western economies now where to locate facilities, whether whatever the decision they made in the past is right, or should they have a hybrid supply chain structure, meaning they need to have a global network for minimizing cost and to leverage the profit margin. As at the same time, do they need to have a local production so that if there is a kind of a disruption in supply chain, still they are able to survive. So luckily, so far, because of this pandemic, we all know, like in the Western economies, got affected by 3 months lockdown. Globally, every country had gone into this, and 3 months is like it takes like huge years to recover. So a week will take a month to recover. So already we lost 12 weeks in the sense we need 12 months, 12 months to recover from this pandemic. So in this case, luckily, our food supply chain didn't get disrupted. Our like mostly like the dominance of Amazon, like the electronic platform, electronic stores, like for example eBay or Amazon or Flipkart in India, whatever it is, they are able to still support the linkages between. They are able to bridge very well between farmers and the consumers. Or so digital technology has a capability exactly to cover all those kind of conventional way how things has been moved in the past. Okay, so typically why I'm saying this is like in future supply chain is going to play a dominant role, especially digital supply chain. We call the digital technologies is going to play a vital role. So what is going to be like, we talked about mass production. What is going to be the future? Like it is going to be more hyper customization, meaning each individual has their own preferences. How to produce a product to their own preferences is going to be unique. So they can't apply the mass production principles to produce a product and what they used to do in the past, as well as they can't standardize and they can't produce. So we are going to talk about mass customization. So I think you can see a video where Adidas already made an attempt. I don't know whether link will open. Let me try. Sorry. So this is a typical short video to show like how they use 3D printing, especially 3D printing to produce hyper customized shoes by we call like trainers. Can you see my YouTube screen, please?
Have you been thinking more about your future? Yes, sir. Not yet.
Okay,
I just heard the audio clip. Like, I'm not
yeah,
able to see the video,
yeah,
but
yeah. No
audio
problem.
was there.
Yeah, yeah. There's a problem with this one. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. Can you see this YouTube screen?
Not yet, sir.
Right. Okay. I think so. You can see now.
Yes.
Right. So this is typically a video which shows like how Adidas is using technology to mass customize production. That's we call hyper. Hyper meaning is.
Then take the opportunity to learn a new skill at uklearns.com.
Yeah, so this is typically to show you like how 3D printing, I know you heard about 3D printing, like how they use effectively 3D printing to produce, like to customize the sole according to each individual's feet. So because each individual feet has a unique shape, so which is not same. So far we are using standardized size, like it could be, so in UK we call 9, 10 and things like that. In India also we do the same in terms of like referring to the sizes of our feet. So typically we are using standardized sizes, but Adidas realized that it is not the solution, so they wanted to go with so they wanted to mass custom, meaning like they wanted to produce in a huge quantity. At the same time, they wanted to make it unique to the preferences or the requirement of the customer. So that's where we are moving towards. It's not mass production, it's mass customization. So exactly, mass customization is going to be the future, which needs technology support. We can't do with the conventional supply chains what I showed to you earlier, like Apple. So each one have their own preferences, have their own like abilities, requirements. So we have to we have to understand the requirement of customer and try to produce exactly what they need. Then only we will be successful. So typically we are trying to create a market segment of one. It's not a clustering. Previously companies are used to cluster the customers, and they assume their requirements on a larger scale. As I mentioned, if we take a shoe, we said like all standard 10 size will fit all the feet, but it is not the case. Each one has their unique shape, so we need to produce according to the need of each one's feet. So where like the technology, like if you can see my slide which says like how the yeah, manufacturing changed over time, from like especially at the early days, like what I showed, like they used to do make to stock in early 19th century. They produce a lot, then they sell that to the customer. Then came in late like kind of mid 19th century where they talked about assemble to order. So they like Dell is a good example where they started to assemble to order, based on the like they used .com channel to sell the computers earlier in early 2000s, where they used their Dell.com to configure according to the need of the customer. Then it took a lead time of week to supply the computer to the customers. Then it came make to order. Exactly, they started like this is mostly happened in service sector. Now it is coming to the manufacturing sector. They wanted to make to order. The final one is mostly like engineer to order. So what we have seen, like we have seen in the example, is they are engineering to the order. They are engineering the product according to the requirement of the customer. So each shoe which has been built has will. So if you go to, for example, there was a good arrangement in the US between Foot Locker and Nike. So where they all the retailer used to have a 3D printer. So when a customer enters to the Foot Locker is like a retailer, like a shoe retailing outlet, where if you go to the Foot Locker, they will scan your feet. In 30 minutes, they use a 3D printer to produce a shoe which exactly matches your feet. So that's where the technology is supporting to customize, mass customize production. So we are like our focus in terms of supply chain here is use of technology. So where they could use, so if they use 3D tech, waste, we all know waste is a substantial element in the supply chain. So with this 3D printing, totally there is no waste. They can recycle and use the products, and the supply chain should be more agile and responsive. So again, they can have all this kind of low inventory in various stages of supply chain. So which is a big issue in terms of cost for manufacturers, global manufacturers. So there are several drawbacks. We can't say all good things about technology. They do have bad things in terms of ownership, liability issues. Typically, like I don't know, in China, India, we are prone to easily people, they don't think about ethical issues, copyright, patent issues. They easily re-engineer, or they call remanufacture, or they do like kind of a piracy, which is a problem with this technology. They have to deal with those things in the future. So, so the design can't be owned. So anybody can easily copy and produce a similar thing without the permission of the patent owners. And so there are like possibilities. So for example, they talk about a personalized medicine. For example, in COVID also, still people are discussing about what to do. So if you are trying to, so for example, in the future, each home will have a, that's what the assumption is. So each home will own a 3D printer where they will try to send the design, and then you can easily you can buy only the raw material and produce at home. So that is going to change dramatically. So for example, pills, they say, like for example, pill medicine, medication, each body needs a different kind of dosage of active particle ingredients or something like the composition ingredient in the pill. So we can't use a general paracetamol for all kind of pains. So each one needs something based on their request. So that is how in future their customization is going to play a role, where technology is going to support a lot. So so our aim here is to understand a bit about the role of technology and how it is helping supply chain to reconfigure the global network. So I'm going to talk about the blockchain. So in India, like we're ahead of acquiring skills in terms of managing, especially like technological skills, especially with the early, thanks to our education system and good fundamental understanding of mathematics, made us to learn quickly the coding skills, as well as which helped globally in terms of working on different kinds of technological support. Like if you take any company that are like leading people in terms of technology are from India, where they play a dominant role in changing the landscape. So I'm going to, before I start with blockchain, I would like to share a video for you again, sorry, so to understand a bit about what exactly blockchain is, then we'll go how it could be applied to uh, 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 the supply chain context. So I'll try to, again, there will be a hiccup in terms of, again, I think I can share the screen. It's a short video to explain you briefly in a minute, less than a minute, about what blockchain is. I think a video has a more power than explaining, so you can easily understand when you see things rather than explaining. So I'm going to share my screen again. I think, can you see my video, please? Like YouTube
Yes,
screen?
sir. Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So I'm going to share you the.
How do you know that the coffee that you bought is actually fair trade? How do you know which one is real? How do you know that this t-shirt has not been made in a sweatshop with a simple tag added at the end? You simply don't. In order for you to be certain, you would need a record of all transactions and events of the life of an item. That would be possible with blockchain. What's a blockchain? That's a fancy word. Blockchain is related to Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency. Initially, it was made for financial transactions, but it is now revolutionizing the business world, especially supply chain. It's just like Google Sheets. With regular transactions, there is a middleman like the bank that registers this transaction, a centralized system like Microsoft Word. But with Bitcoin, transactions are between user to user. So when there's a transaction, the information is recorded in a shared ledger or block, and these blocks are linked together to form a blockchain, like a shared Google Doc. Transaction accuracy is driven by the fact that consensus creates truth. In a blockchain database, every participant or node maintains a copy of the shared ledger. Each transaction on the blockchain is recorded in computer code showing who the parties are, transaction details, and timestamp with each containing the unique math-based encrypted signature. This digital signature is key as it allows each block of information to be securely connected to all the rest. It's this system of full transparency and connectedness that lends the blockchain its trust and credibility. This connection provides an audit trail of every transaction that's ever occurred in a system. So, if there were an unauthorized change, each node is notified and we can see where it took place. They then would agree to recognize the change as valid or reject it. Again, transparency and consensus combine to make the blockchain system virtually tamper-proof. Today, your data is stored in silos, just like a Microsoft Word file. When blockchain, your data will be stored publicly or pseudo-anonymously in a shared database. Now, with blockchain, you can track the chronological history of the organic cotton shirt that you bought. You cannot temper or cheat because everyone using the system is watching you. The blockchain revolution isn't going to happen overnight, but it is expected to change our lives, like the wheel did, or the electric motor, and the internet itself. I believe that this blockchain would be the next industrial revolution.
Yeah, so this is a short video. So all these videos are available in YouTube for you to watch anytime. Like it's not a proprietary video, so you are most welcome to watch these videos anytime. I'll go to my plus. So anytime in YouTube. So this is all like an impressive video made by people to explain the concept in a simple way for us to understand things. Right. So let me move on to explain more about blockchain, especially in supply chains, how it is going to be helpful. So it's like a digital technology. It's a digital ledger where everybody have access to, in the sense like if I make some changes, others can see what changes I made, at what time I did, and what are the transactions I did. So all things are visible to all parties in the network. So I can't tamper. So once I made it and seal it like a block, it can't be tampered. That's the beauty of blockchain. So whoever does will be seen visible to others, so that they understand. They can't blame later on, I don't know things. So they all are seeing what is happening within their network. So a bit of expensive process, but at the end of the day, it builds trust among networks. So that, for example, we have seen a lot of recall due to product. For example, Toyota says, okay, we are going to recall all this model. For example, Nokia, some time ago in India, they said they wanted to recall the mobile phone because there was a problem in the battery. So they said, okay, there is a bomb in your packet. So some supplier, battery supplier, made a mistake in terms of a batch of batteries produced was not so good. So anytime it assumed to be explode. So people were a bit worried. They wanted to take back all the mobile phone, and then they wanted to replace the new with a new battery. So which is bit of like, so those things with the help of blockchain could not happen. They can easily trace and find out who did a mistake, and they can only replace which one has to be replaced, not to recall all the product produced. Okay, so for example, in Toyota, some time ago, they said the airbag in the car was not so good, so they wanted to recall all the product and to change the airbags. So which, whenever company does this, they are going to lose a lot of money. Like 50% of the revenue goes when they started doing this recall, plus the brand image is gone. So typically, like, it is preferable not to do for recall. So in a way, technology like blockchain could support or minimize this kind of recalls. So typically, like, what I think most of the things has been mentioned in the video, like what the blockchain is: a ledger. It's nothing but a database record, like a book, conventional account book, where it will be shared across multiple people in the network. So all the transactions will be seen by others with a timestamp, and who did what, all those information will be available. So everybody can see what is happening. If I'm going to buy something from so-and-so supplier, I will enter those information in the ledger, so which will be seen by others. In addition, it will also have a contract. If something goes wrong, what should be done? Okay, so those things, like you don't want to manually see the procedures, what happened, what people did in the past. So if you are like working managing the line, you can exactly see something goes wrong. It is auto coded. If everything goes well, then they pay the money for the transaction. If there is something a problem conflict, then there is a set of rules which will coded decoded according to the rule, and then they will act. It's all they call smart contract. So for example, in this slide, I've shown that there is a guy wanted to sell a car, like John wanted to give a car to Anthony. If it is everything is good, it is simple process. But if they say contract is kind of an agreement, if everything goes well, they will transfer. If something goes wrong, so he can't pay money or there is some issue with the product, what to do? Those things will be embedded in the transaction, so that if like if and then if so all conditions are okay, then they will transfer. If not, they will do what needs to be done. So if Anthony pays John money, then car passes from John to Anthony. If the car won't start, funds do not pass. So if there is a fault in the product, then there will not be a transfer of funds to John, and it will be decided by the third party. Previously, the third party has to intervene and say, okay, this is problem, so they have to sort it out. Then only money will be transferred. For example, banks, certifying agencies, etc., etc. So contracts will be builded automatically. So everything they call smart, meaning they will uh, they will go one by one condition, and then they will try to satisfy what is needed. So it's blockchain is a shared registry. Like you can see on the left hand side, in the left hand side, the conventional way how the clearing house or the third party is intervening. It could be bank, it could be certifying agencies. It's in some cases it could be government, where they will try to regulate things, and then they will try to check and assure everything is right. Whereas in the case of blockchain, we don't need a third party because all are connected. They all can see what is happening. So trust is inbuilt in the network. So they can believe on others and do the transaction. So for example, if I want to import something from Delhi to, from Shanghai to Delhi, for example, I know the relationship is not right now good, but still, I think we can't, we have to find a way. So for if I want to buy something from Shanghai, I don't know the Shanghai supplier. So I will go, so what I will see, I have seen the product. I wanted to buy the product, which is only supplied by Shanghai supplier. So the Delhi retailer will be going to a bank. He will open a letter of credit and says, okay, he will deposit the money with the bank and open a letter of credit and send the letter of credit to the supplier in Shanghai. When the Shanghai receives a letter of supplier, then he ships the contents from Shanghai to Delhi. Once the product reaches somewhere in the port, for example, it could be in Calcutta or in Mumbai, wherever it is. So when it comes there, then they will inform the retailer that the goods has been received to India port. Then if they will check, they will inspect. If everything is good, then if the retailer is happy, the money will be released by the bank to the supplier, and the goods goes to the Delhi retailer. So typically like this, the bank has to intervene in a way that to make sure the transaction is complete. So when we have a blockchain, then there is no need of intervention of a bank. So everything could be done without seamlessly, without the intervention of third party. So this is how it looks like currently, where the network, we need a kind of like a bank or a consulting companies, like whatever we have seen, like auditing firms, we call McKinsey, Deloitte, Anderson, Boston. So those companies play an intermediary role to make sure the transactions happen between the network. So in future, there is no need of like third party like McKinsey, Deloitte, or Anderson, those kind of consulting company or a bank, where because of this blockchain. So there are different names, and we are not talking anything about cryptocurrencies. We are trying to see how this blockchain could be used in businesses, especially like it could be in terms of contract, in terms of reaching consensus, in terms of terms of like trying to develop trust and security. Like we are at the present, like our internet or all these things are exposed to cyber threats. How to secure in future having a private consensus network. So but there blockchain is going to play a substantial role. So I don't know whether I have time to show this video anyway. So blockchain has been already piloted by Walmart. You know, Walmart is a big retailer in the US. I think they have some operations in India, especially not on B2C scale, on B2B. So they very well, like, because for example, there was a good example in terms of like tracing the mango where it comes from Africa, for example. So they made a pilot project with IBM. IBM provided the technology. They have a blockchain solution called Everledger. They use that technology to trace the origin of mango, because if you know, like mangoes has different kind of issues in terms of like they wanted to identify where it comes from, so that they wanted to minimize those kind of disruptions. So if mango has a kind of a rotten things or an insect inside, insect bite in the mango, so they can't sell the mango. So they want to trace. So previously it took like a week to trace where it comes from for Walmart, whereas now they can trace in 2 seconds where it comes from with the support of blockchain. So exactly they will not source from those places because it is prone to like insect bites, or there will be insect inside the mango. When you eat, you can see some insect comes from inside. So they wanted to like avoid, because otherwise they are shipping all the way from Africa to US, somewhere in Chicago or somewhere in Atlanta it goes, and then after all that they find the product is defect, then they want to throw away. So if they know where it comes from future, they can check at the starting point. If everything is good, they will ship, otherwise they will not. So those kind of help is offered right now by blockchain technology. So I'm not showing this video because of time, because I'm mindful of time right now. Anyway, you can see if you go to YouTube, put Walmart, blockchain and action in Walmart, you can see this kind of video. So there are many benefits. Directly, when you see the tangible benefits of this technology is substantial. It saves time. As I mentioned with the Walmart example, they could reduce number of days to track where the product comes from. So it saves time. It removes additional cost. Unnecessarily, we don't want to ship things if there is something fault, and it reduces, because it's a private consensus network, so there is no risk. So it reduces risks, cyber physical attacks and things like the fraud, crime, and it increases trust. That is a big thing. So we don't want third party intervention. So that's a big thing with this technology. So in terms of supply, I'm mindful of like how this technology could be used for supply chain. I'm a bit greedy in terms of like how I can make use of this technology to make sure supply chain is good. So in terms of recording, like quantity of assets which has been transferred at micro level between nodes and supply chain could be recorded using this technology because a shared ledger. I can also track where the product comes from, automatically generate purchase order. If there is a change, I can easily change the orders, receipts, and things like that. I can assign like certification is not needed because I am seeing what is happening at the other end. And then I can also link the physical, the data with the physical hardware like RFIDs or the sensors to track and trace and monitor the condition of perishable products if I'm shipping things. Those things could be done. I can also share the information to various networks, so everything is visible, so they don't want to blame end of the day something goes wrong. So typically, if you say to sum up, what are the benefits in supply chain for blockchain? It enhances transparency. Trust and transparency is a key in business, so which is assured by blockchain. The greater scalability, so we can have any number of participants, but again there is a cost involvement is there because a lot of computing power goes into it, and there is a better security, and there is an increased innovation opportunity to create specialized use of technology in a centralized architecture. So typically, like we can, so for example, Apple benefited a lot from the suppliers. So they very well used, they encourage a lot of small suppliers from different countries to come up with some kind of new technology. So they train them, they develop them, they invest them over time, and then they try to nurture the capabilities and innovation from suppliers. So it's all like, we can't say everything has been done by Apple. It has done by many people in the network. So typically, like blockchain will form an open ecosystem where information data handling is a key. Everybody knows what is happening at the other end, so everybody has a role, fair role, to contribute and to prevent unethical activities in the network. So that is all the role about blockchain. So if you're keen, again, I'm not like promoting anything, so we have written a book on supply chain cases, especially on retail side, healthcare side, on kind of reverse logistics, on food side, how they could blockchain could minimize waste, on a manufacturing side, how it could support enhance the production mass customization, on kind of like retail side, how it could ensure transparency for the customers, and on the river, like something goes wrong, for example, if you want to take back the product, now they say it's circular economy, how to take back and use, how blockchain could be used. So this is a book which is available right now in the market. If you are interested, or if your library can have a purchase, and you guys can have a look at this book. So other ICT technology, as a previous speaker mentioned, so supply chain, not only like database sharing, it's about how we are going to move things at the downstream side from manufacturer to the end customers, as well as how we are going to buy things on the upstream side, how technology could be used, what various stages. That's what I'm going to just open up a few things, what globally things are like. Technology is changing the landscape of all of us, for all of us. So I'm going to talk a bit about, like as previous speaker mentioned, about robotics. So I'm not going to talk much on that. An autonomous vehicle like Google autonomous cars, which they piloted, they experimented a lot, and still it is an experimentation, where it is going to come very soon in terms of last mile, reducing carbon footprint in last mile delivery, and how AI, artificial intelligence, is going to play a substantial role. Then Internet of Things, Industry 4.0, we say supply chain 4.0 is how to make sure machine to machine interact well in a way that it benefits the mankind. And what is the role of cloud computing, big data, and we have seen something about blockchain. So there was like recently an article in Harvard Business Review which says that, okay, there is a death of supply chain. So this is prior to pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, coronavirus. They said, okay, uh, technology is going to totally make a way to supply chains to die, but it is not the case. People realize the role of supply chain, the disruption in supply chain, how it impacted the day-to-day life because of COVID-19. So they said digital technologies are disrupting the traditional way of operations management. They said, and within 5 to 10 years, operations function may become obsolete, and all are going to be like automated. They're self-regulated. They're going to optimally manage. Where they need very little human intervention. And they said like all this planning, purchasing, managing, order fulfillment are automated. What is the role of management professionals? This is the latest paper, appeared in Harvard Business Review in 2018, but it is not the case. There is no death to supply chain. It is going to emerge. So every company, like for example, I don't know, you heard about online retailer Otto now uses AI to predict what customers will order with 90% efficiency. So Amazon does this, Auto does this, all this kind of companies like exactly predicts the behavior of consumers, what they're going to buy, how to move the ship nearer to their warehouse, and how to deliver within 24 hours. All those things are happening with supply chain. So there is a big role for supply chain managers in future. So, for example, they do 30 billion transactions with 200 variables, taking into account all the contextual variable, past sales, weather condition, people preferences, everything within. They are producing. Auto try to use predictive analytics pretty much in a sensible way to exactly predict and deliver things within short span of lead time. So that's why Amazon has Prime. Within 24 hours, they are able to deliver because of this predictive analytics. So this is how what is happening in fully automated warehouses. This is what happening in Tesla, for example, how they produce cars using robots. This is mostly on autonomous vehicle, how they are going to in future I think in UK in next 2 years we are going to have autonomous trucks on road. So what is going to be the future of operations or supply chain management? So technology is creating more and different jobs in operation management. It's not the conventional job what we do. The jobs what you're going to do in the future is going to be different. So technology we know is a tool, but operations manager role is to understand its ability to understand technology, where it has to be applied, how it has to be applied. So in future, our job, like humankind job, is we are going to have need many supply chain professionals. It's not like truck drivers. We need many people to design and operate the supply chain processes to make technology more effective. So it's not doing conventional way of picking, placing, or trying to schedule things. No, it's going to be more creating new systems. So where there is going to, we are going to, so there is a lot, always shortage of skill in terms of supply chain, where they need to effectively orchestrate the resources to make it more resilient, more robust, and more effective. So I'm going. So I think I wanted to touch upon the other technologies. I have a few more technologies to introduce to you, but I'm not going in depth on each technology like what I did for blockchain. So this is my aim, is to expose you to various technology, how it is revolutionizing supply chain at every node. So cloud computing, we are benefiting right now using the Zoom platform. What we are right now using is a cloud computing tool where everything is like we have a server and then we are using a global server. So previously, people used to offer softwares and things, and now they are trying to offer it as a service. So Zoom is exactly does the same in terms of like offering service as a software, like software as a service. So as an internet as a service, so they need to offer. So they are connecting all of us globally using virtual platforms. So we are benefiting a lot. So in future, they're not going to sell product; they're going to sell service. So using technology. So whatever it is, it could be a truck or it could be a car, it could be a computing, whatever it, we are going to get a service, not a product. We are not going to own anything on our own. So again, Internet of Things, machine to man. This is happening at various stages in the supply chain network. Internet of Things, like we have sensors everywhere. We have a potential to collect micro level data. These things came from Yoshi Sheffi, a leading kind of a futuristic thinker in supply chains in MIT. So these points has been jotted down by Yoshi Sheffi. So I'm just trying to explain to you, taking his points. So he says like sensors everywhere, RFID, collecting micro level data is possible. There is going to be increased in-trans visibility. That's a problem we had in the past, where we can use cloud-based GPS, global positioning system, plus RFID to exactly micro level track where the product is, when it will reach, where if there is an accident somewhere, how this delay will be get magnified across the supply chain, or what are the recovery options, mitigation options we have. All those things can be tracked. For example, pedigree is like a pharmaceutical industry. They're using Internet of Things to customize the pills according to the need of the patient. So they will understand the what kind of disease a typical patient has, and then they will try to produce pills according to the need. That's where we are going to be in future. Technology is going to support us to do this in future. So there is a possibility, as I mentioned earlier, like predictive analytics, big data analytics is a textual data, like whatever we tweet or use in Facebook or unstructured data, how we are going to use that effectively to understand a bit about the need of the customer. Autonomous vehicle last mile delivery, a lot of benefits. There is like traffic disruption will be totally reduced. The carbon emission, which we are more cautious right now in order to reduce the carbon footprint emission to 50% level in next 5 years, which is a target from many companies because of Paris Protocol or Kyoto Protocol. We have to reduce carbon footprint reduction. So logistics is mostly moving things from point A to point B. How this technology called autonomous vehicle is going to support us to reduce carbon footprint, as well as to effectively deliver things without any hassle. So the positive implication of autonomous vehicle is better flow. We have seen that in Uber, for example, where we don't want to own a car, we can use we get a service which will be low cost. We are able to move from point A to point B. And safety, especially if we go in a motorway, like a lot of accident happens because of human mistakes. So if you make it more autonomous, we can the accident would be substantially reduced in the future. That's a statistics we have globally. So the negative implications are there too with this autonomous vehicle. A lot of people truck drivers are going to lose job. There is like probable possibility to for cyber terror opportunity, like they can control, if they can get a control of a typical vehicle, they can misuse the control protected. What happens to the current cars? We don't know. They have to go with producing more autonomous cars. In terms of retail delivery, like most of the companies like Amazon, Flipkart, whatever you talk about, like they are doing free delivery right now. They are fast in 24 hours. They are able to do so. A lot of costs incurred for them. So because of COVID, Amazon cost went up. The sales also increased, but the costs went up substantially because they need to make it the safe delivery of products. So they need to invest a lot of money on personal protective equipments like gloves, masks, sanitizing equipment, etc. So, in terms of like GSK, GlaxoSmithKline, they have already customizing the medicine according to the patient. In Japan, like wherever you are. So, for example, I will be today at Delhi. Tomorrow I'll be in Kolkata. So, if I'm in Delhi tomorrow, I'm going to Kolkata. I can order a product today at Delhi. Tomorrow, when I go to the Kolkata airport, I can receive the product at the Kolkata airport. That is possible. So wherever you move, we are going to be in dynamically. We are going to move around the various because of business requirements. So wherever you want, you can order and get collect where you go. So those options are available. In Japan, for example, it's very well. In South Korea, they do a lot. Finally, to conclude, like in this one, like is a order or norm of the day now. So which augmented reality, virtual reality is, we are totally relied on eBay, Amazon, and Flipkart for buying stuff. So I'm on time. Can I say check the time, Dr. Sapna? This I'm going to end with this slide, right?
Fine, sir.
Okay, so augmented reality is like how so far in terms of supply chain, they are using to assist operations in-house, like for example, warehouse management and maintenance, repair and operations. They use to sense and diagnose where there is a fault. And in future, it is going to help a lot the human being to easily fix something goes wrong. And virtual reality, how we are going to use, for example, to create an experience to a customer when they buy stuff from. So we know the difference between going and purchasing in a real store and in a virtual store. So we lack this kind of experience, sensing and feelings, the order, smelling the product things. So those things now they are trying to create using virtual reality. I know, like in China, Alibaba has already did this. So when I go to the website, I will go to a virtual world where I can sense and feel the product, I can smell the product. All those experience they are trying to bring into the virtual reality. So the next generation shopping is going to be totally different with the technology. So I talked from end to end. So in supply chain, if you talk from supply side, there are a lot of things to be done in terms of procurement. In terms of downstream side, we call how we are going to ship product, how we are going to understand customer, how we are going to create experience. Those things are all important, and technology has a strongest role to play in future. But we have to live with whatever things are happening. We have to adapt. We have to be more aligned to things in order to be successful. So with this, mindful of interest of time, I'm stopping here. I'm happy to answer your question. And I know I have rushed at the later part because of time. I don't want to eat your time. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir, for such an informative session and showing us many new dimensions, especially when we talk about supply chain management and when we connect it with distribution, that is logistic part. So we have definitely learned many new inputs and the emerging trends which are there, especially in this domain. So thanks a lot. And as far as the questions are concerned, yes, we have to received questions via chat box. So I'll just ask you the first question. It says, when we have talked, we have majorly emphasized on products. So is blockchain equally applicable in service industry like education?
Of course, like for example, blockchain, there is like a lot of application in education industry for certification. For example, there are a lot of fake certificates people are producing. So they don't go to college or university. They say like, okay, I have this certificate. So for example, in future, the employers wanted to verify whether whatever I claim is right. So if they have this technology interconnected, the employer is connected with all the educational institutions like or the universities, they can easily verify in a second like whether the guy has really undergone training and whether he has all capability competencies to perform the role. So they I think globally many universities are piloting with blockchain to improve the authenticity of certification, so to avoid the fake claims of people.
Okay, sir. And the question, it also says, what is the applicability of the same like blockchain in healthcare industry?
So in healthcare, as I mentioned, in pharmaceutical sector, like how the blockchain could help people to share For example, there are a lot of recalls for in this, health. You know, healthcare is mostly concerned about safety rather than cost. So say if you want to create transparency in the healthcare, like whatever like records, whatever like diagnosis, if you are going to consult with multiple general practitioners, it could be GP, we call like doctors. So if they wanted to trace and see like what happened, what they have undergone in different with different consultants, so those things, if you have a blockchain, it could be connected very well among the doctors. So it's easy for us to don't want to repeat the test and don't want to track the history of the patient, as well as in terms of pills, we can easily see like what happened and what are the, for example, in India, they are leaders in like now in producing generic medicines where the many APIs, like they call active product pharmaceutical ingredients, which comes 62% comes from China. So if you have a blockchain network with the suppliers, we can see where it comes from, what happens with the API, whether it is safe to use it. If something goes wrong, who to track, who to go back and check with them. So those things are possible with blockchain in healthcare industry.
Okay, sir. Thanks a lot. And because of paucity of time, the remaining questions I'll share you in the offline format, and I'll seek your inputs and your answers for the same, and then I'll communicate to our participants who have seek the clarification
Yeah,
for those questions.
yeah. Thank you.
And once again, I would like to thank you wholeheartedly for, first of all, for accepting our proposal, our invitation as to become a key speaker for IALP 2020 in such a short notice, and definitely through LinkedIn platform. So for that, I would like to thank you. And the inputs and the contents which you have spoke about, or you have thrown light on those inputs, they are really, I think, for us students especially, and for budding researchers, it would definitely open new dimensions and new domain in supply chain and logistics management. So thanks a lot, sir. And in fact, I would also like to request Dr. Yogin Singh, sir, to finally conclude the IALP 2020 and to formally propose vote of thanks to our speaker for day 5, Professor Nachiappan from University of Sussex, United Kingdom, and share his combined complete inputs pertaining to IALP 2020 from day 1 to day 5. Over to you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Sapna madam. Good afternoon, all of you. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to finally approaching towards the uh, last session of this 1 week IALP program. And because tomorrow again we have one quiz session that Sapna Madam will let you know after I complete my vote of thanks. Uh, First of all, I would like to thank Professor Nachiappa Subramaniam sir from UK for spreading his valuable knowledge, for spreading his valuable knowledge, for updating us, for making us aware about the importance of supply chain management, the blockchain and supply chain logistics and management, especially during this COVID time. As early also it was very important, but now the role has changed. That is the transformation and transition. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your valuable inputs, and very, very, very much thank you for accepting our invitation, and that too we have connected through LinkedIn, and you have extended your cooperation, and the your humbleness is highly noticeable, that you have joined well before time, sir, not before time, well before time, sir, in order to avoid any technical glitches, and even to understand the flow of program is going on accordingly, sir. Like you have mentioned 2 3 times about the previous speaker, so it is really remarkable, sir, that you have joined well before time in order to actually understand and see the flow of the program is going on. So thank you very much, sir. And to moving towards the final conclusion and final vote of thanks, respected principal, sir, Dr. G.M. Patil ji, respected CEO, sir, Commodore B.K. Gupta, sir, respected registrar, sir, Dr. S.S. Sirur, respected Dean Academics, Dr. Azare Jagdish, respected Accounts Officer, Mr. Manoj Kumar. The we have available right now. We have available with us Professor Nachiappa Subramaniam sir, speaker of second session. So respected Subramaniam sir, respected Dr. Sapna Mathur Madam, co-convener of this program IALP, and my all respected faculty coordinators, Professor Rakesh Bhatt, Dr. Achal Singhal Madam, Professor Ankur Garg, then all my respected faculty organizers team, that is the Dr. Vednath Ram Prajapati ji, Dr. Kokila Saxena Madam, Dr. Anju Tripathi Madam, Dr. Pratibha Giri Madam, Professor Sadasiv sir, and my helping hand, Mr. Ram Surat, and the most important, the honorable participants from various parts of the globe, who are actually the instruments in making the program a great success. So I must thank all of you. I must thank the entire lot of speakers from various parts of the globe. Dr. Saravana Paramasivam sir from Canada, Dr. Amitabh Anand sir from France, Dr. Rohit Sharma sir from NITI Mumbai, Dr. Abhishek Bahl sir from IIT Bombay, Dr. Anjali Susaja madam from NITI Mumbai, Dr. Nalin NP Jayasurya sir from Sri Lanka, Dr. Professor Satendra Sharma sir from Nigeria, and Professor Nachiappa Subramaniam sir from UK. I must thank all these speakers for their valuable inputs, for updating our knowledge, upgrading our knowledge. I must thank the entire management who has helped us in bringing out this successful program. I once again thank the co-convener of this program, Dr. Sapna Mathur Madam, for designing such a wonderful program and in bringing together the speakers and participants, not only from India, rather from the various parts of the globe. So thank you very much, ma'am. And I thank the entire lot of my faculty coordinators and organizers for doing this wonderful job. So thank you very much. And again, as I said, it is not an end, it is a beginning. Will keep on spreading this knowledge base on a global basis. Thank you very much, ma'am. Over to Sapna madam. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir, for your words of encouragement and motivation. Definitely will go ahead with more learning and with more new inputs. And as far as the day 6 is concerned, all the participants will receive a quiz-based Google form at 10 a.m. sharp, and they have to complete and submit the responses within an hour. that is within 11 a.m. and that will be the part for day 6. What it will constitute? It will constitute all the components which we have gone through from day 1 to day 5, all the sessions, key insights and key inputs and the learnings pertaining to all the sessions which were there from day 1 to day 5. So all the participants are once again requested to submit the quiz dot on time. And now in the end, I would definitely like to thank everyone who has associated with us, whether it's our eminent speakers, the galaxy of intellectual participants, the dignitaries, the team of Department of Management Studies and IALP 2020, and especially the entire JSS ATN family. Thanks a lot, and we'll continue more such programs and events in future for more enhanced and continued learning. Thanks a lot.